Let's quickly get to one now. We'll catch your attention at home because health is something that affects every Kenyan. Health is part of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four. Health is also a county function, and of course, when people are healthy, they have more money in their pockets. If we can get the front page of the Business Daily, and they seem to be the only ones with this particular story, Cuban doctors beat members of parliament with 800,000 Kenya shilling salary. The CS says the medics are being hired at Job Group S, whose monthly take-home is more than senators, principal secretaries, members of parliament, just to name a few. In fact, they are being called super-paid government employees headed to Kenya. It put the doctors from the Central American nation above principal secretaries, parliamentary, majority and minority leaders, the vice chief of the defense forces, the army commander, the inspector general of police, the director of National Intelligence Service, who are all paid slightly less than this group, amongst others. And the main story would be on page 4. And page 4 also has a picture of the Secretary General of KMPDU frowning. Of course, this is a picture taken a long time ago, but it captures the tweet that he posted yesterday where he was like, really, is this what they are going to be paid? And of course, Dr. Luga has called the hiring of Cuban doctors unethical because Kenya has enough doctors locally. I'm curious to get your views, and I start with you, Honorable Midiwo, about the coming of Cuban doctors. I think they should be here before the start of next month or at the start of next month.
What would be more unethical than raping a lactating mother at the biggest hospital in the country?
Those claims were not proven, though.
What would be so unethical than having a hospital where its administration lets kids be stolen? What would be so unethical more than operating on a wrong patient? You can call them, you can say we have enough doctors. What I think the government is trying to do, and must be supported. I am a very big supporter of this issue of Cuban doctors. I've been to Cuba before. They told us they have tried to give Kenya doctors for over the years, and Kenya was always refusing. This is a country of 11 million people, but has 46,000 doctors. Cuba imports no drugs. Cuba is, I mean, nobody, even HIV infection rate is only 2% in Cuba. Their health system is one of the best in the world. Americans are today going to Cuba for treatment. I was in another show, Nyambura, where one of the panelists said that they are going to need interpreters. You know, what is that? You know, even Kenyans are in school in Cuba. You still need people to... This story on Business Daily is a bad story. It is a bad story because it seems to compare a physician who is a specialist with a politician, with a policeman. You know, if our policeman was so good and deserved, if the IG was so good and deserved that, he would not be ordering police to do what the police are doing. They are not good enough. What we need to do, and I want to suggest to the government, all these doctors, take them to Kenyatta Hospital. Don't distribute them. So that cases that cannot be handled
at the county level,
bring them to Kenyatta Hospital. Let us reorganize this thing called Kenyatta Hospital. It can even become a tourist health facility so that we can make good use of it. But I think opposing every idea, we are not helping the government. We need this. In fact, we need them in their thousands. If we can make a good deal that does not cost us, you cannot compare the life of a Kenyan with 800,000 shillings. You cannot. But right now, the health systems have collapsed. Lastly, I want to tell you that the medical sector, the health sector, is now the new cash cow. When the last budget before devolution, we gave KEMSA only 4.3 billion shillings to import drugs. Last year, the governors collectively spent 130 billion buying drugs. Something is not right. You know, fix it. In fact, I want to thank the president for realizing that something is not right and realizing that the answer is not here. You know, I saw MPs, and I hope Honorable Tandi did not sign that paper to kick out the CS for health.
He'll tell us.
Because that CS was just telling the CEO, step aside, so that we can investigate people who are raping lactating mothers. So
If
that
the claims are proven to
but
be true.
you can only investigate. You cannot investigate when the manager is on the seat. Like
Fair
now,
enough.
what is happening in NYS? The first thing, heads must roll. People always step aside. That's how it happens in proper civilizations. In Kenyatta Hospital, you need even foreign administrators. Something is not right, Maura.
Fair enough. Honorable Kirwa.
Well, there are a number of cases that we can draw a parallel. One is the dream team that President Moi set up for purposes of instilling discipline, good manners, and proper governance in the civil service. They came in, they looked at the civil service, and they made certain far-reaching recommendations, including saying civil servants were thieves, they were not properly trained, and they were lazy. And therefore, there was no need, particularly in the Ministry of Agriculture, for them to go to the field. After a certain period, the dream team became a failure in terms of the way forward. Now, my hope about these doctors from Cuba is that possibly they are bringing in new skills, specialized skills that we don't have. Because our major problem is not lack of training, our major problem is not lack of expertise, our major problem is the work ethic, attitude change. And therefore, that should be what we need to be focusing on. Because our attitude is wrong in terms of everything from the nurses to the doctors. We just need to instill some sense of work ethic in all our people across the board, not necessarily doctors alone. Now, when I look at doctors who have graduated and they don't have jobs in Kenya, they are about 1,700. And a new graduate doctor earns between 30 and 40,000, depending on the area of specialization. This therefore means the 100 doctors from Cuba, each on average would have employed 20 of our people. And because there are 100, you multiply by 100.
100 or 200?
I had 100 initially.
Okay.
100. Yeah.
Okay.
It was 100. You
Yeah,
multiply
or two per
by,
county.
yes, if we could employ 20 doctors from the 800,000 shillings, it means therefore we would be able to employ our 2,000 doctors, which means we'll have employed all the graduate doctors lying somewhere in the field, and even have some excess, about 300 of them, to deal with other issues.
Okay.
What are we looking at? Really, democracy is about involving the people who are in that particular field. Bringing of doctors from Cuba is not a problem, but we should have involved the stakeholders, and stakeholders include our doctors. We cannot rubbish our children and we expect 100 of them will do the work of thousands of doctors in the field. Because if you bring somebody to do the job I'm doing, you are already saying I'm not capable of doing unless it is structured in a way that I understand is coming to do 1, 2, 3, and I'll be doing 1, 2, 3. Now, the issue Mheshimiwa has mentioned is true, that KEMSA was given little money. And what is happening in various counties, and I did a paper the other day on the issues of devolution of health care. What is happening is that procurement has gone asunder. There is no effective procurement. Everybody is procuring their drugs, but when you go to those facilities, some of the drugs which are supposed to be there, they are not there. And I did the research, and I realized that what we are saying and what we are telling our people is not what is obtaining on the ground. That is the problem.
Okay. Honorable Wangari.
I want to first of all confirm I did not sign the ouster motion for
Very good.
and even if it found its way on the floor, I would have rejected and I would have said no, clearly, because the issues you have been dealing with in the medical fraternity are huge. And we take these things as statistics, but they are people we are talking about. When we speak, last Sunday we celebrated Mother's Day. It's supposed to be a very happy day for women out there. But the number of women that are dying every year in this country when giving birth is staggering. We have lowered it, yes, but we are still not there. The issue of one of the pillars of the 4 agenda by the president and the government is the universal health care. We must get to a point where responsibility is taken. And there was a case yesterday that was actually a negligence case. I've said here before, if you remember, when there was an issue of the strike of the doctors, that when you touch the issue of negligence of a doctor, they all gang up. It becomes, it's our own. And I said, Professor Magoha works very well when he's in the neck, and he was my vice chancellor in the university. When he's chairing neck for the exam, he works perfectly. But when it comes to the KMPD and the board and the dentist board, it becomes another issue. We must call this out as it is. Medical attention today is seen as expensive for Kenyans, and is it not? It is. If I go to Kenyatta today and you have long queues that you're supposed to, you're supposed to be attended to, and it doesn't happen, or if you're attended to, someone was tired and fatigued, why do we refuse help? And these are not your ordinary doctors. They are experts. They are trained in special. In fact, the Kenyan union, the trade union for the doctors, should actually be using this one to actually benchmark locally, to be able to see how it is done, and to also negotiate for better pay when they do their job. It's not about just hiring a number of 2,000 doctors. It's about how do they do it when they get there. The issue of referral hospitals, we have two in this country. We have Moi Referral Hospital in Eldoret, and we have Kenyatta National Hospital. As long as we are taking small ailments of malaria, of homa, of immunization of children to Kenyatta, it is not a referral hospital. We must be able to decentralize it. A small hospital in Kiptangwani, in my ward in Elementator, can be able to give you immunization, can give you family planning, can give you ARVs for HIV. And when you need attention that needs technical know-how, you are referred to Kenyatta, or you are referred to Moi Referral Hospital. We must be able to aspire that going forward, every county must be able to have a referral hospital to get closer to the people and to be able to deal with the deaths that we are dealing with every day that are avoidable. This is very welcome. It's been negotiated by the Council of Governors. They are the people who are supposed to handle the bulk of health. And the resistance we are seeing is the resistance to change. I want to tell the doctors, our doctors, please be patient and learn. Learn from these doctors, learn from these doctors, and be able to get something out of it, and put some passion in your work. I know we have passionate doctors, no doubt, but the few that are there for the money, please, we need passionate doctors in this country that are very serious, not to curtail provision of the necessary attention, and, and have some hope that we can save our country. When we were at the Solai Memorial, in fact, the story was given by the governor. When this tragedy occurred, there was a small hospital, a private hospital. That's right. Whose two doctors ran away that night. And the one person who saved lives was one lady who was an administrator in that hospital. Saved so many lives. So really, about 30, so many lives, and was actually vetted, even by the president. We must inject passion to this. Let us also deal with our education system, and I think Fred Matiang'i had started that very well, that even when you qualify as a doctor, not because you had money to access a parallel degree, it is because you have some passion in it and you're qualified perfectly to be able to be a doctor in this country.
Fair enough. Honorable Tandy, wrap this up.
One, I've had issues with the kind of the quality of training that our doctors we're giving our doctors, because right now you go to see a doctor and the doctor is actually Googling, Googling your ailment, so that they're able to tell you from the system.
You've actually seen
internet. That? Yes. They are not. Our doctors are not well trained.
Did you stay? Do you stay to continue being treated by someone who would Google?
I did not take the medicine.
Walk out.
I did not take the medicine.
You don't take the medicine.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that if you are going to address the issue of our health issues, then we need to begin with where we are training, how we are training our doctors, and there's a loophole in that area. Having said that, I also do not support this issue of Cuban doctors, because first of all, I have seen in Siaya we are going to receive 3 urologists. The last time I checked, I don't think that people of Siaya the biggest health issue has to do with the urology. So you are seeing a situation where we have been given doctors from Cuba.
You see a mismatch.
Yeah, who will not be able to address. Was there some sort of did they carry out some research to find out what kind of specialists do we need as Kenya? So I think there was a mismatch in that area. And I want to say that if we are going to import best practice, we are going to import people who are going to help us to have attitude change within the profession, then maybe these doctors should be taken to the training schools so that they can be able to help our students. They can train them before they come out. Otherwise, right now, they are really not going to help us much. And it was a reaction. This issue of Cuban doctors was a reaction to the threats posed by doctors when they were on strike. And I think somebody moved very fast to find a way of fighting the doctors. I think that this thing is uncalled for, and our doctors are doing a very good job. The problem we have is capacity in our hospitals, and our doctors are also few. So if the government is serious about sorting the our health challenges, even within the universal health programs, I have also seen that it's not going to do much, because going by the estimates that have been allocated for universal health care, it will not achieve even a quarter of what we are being told will be realized. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board as a government and ensure that we plan and put in place infrastructure that is going to support our healthcare systems.
Fair enough. I think that's how we wrap up this discussion. Mixed reactions from my guests here in studio about the news that Cuban doctors could be earning just a little under 1 million Kenya shillings. But I think what my panelists here agree upon is that something needs to be done about healthcare in this country. While there are people like that lady in Solai who have done very well in sort of defending the profession, nevertheless, across the country complains that healthcare is not where it should be. And some feel, should the Cuban doctors bring a difference, let them come. Others say, no, let's empower Kenyan doctors. They can do the job just as well. Thank you so much, Honorable Midiwo, Honorable Kirwa, Honorable Wangare, Honorable Atandi, for joining.